Blood trails stained the fresh snow as former Navy EOD specialist Matt Wilson followed them deeper into the restricted zone. His radio crackled. "Matt, satellite confirms. It's a Siberian tiger trapped in the abandoned Soviet minefield." His heart pounded. Only 30 or more tigers remained in this region, and one was now bleeding out, surrounded by deadly anti-personnel mines. The majestic predator lay motionless except for labored breathing, its orange coat stark against white snow, one massive paw mangled by an explosion. No rescue team will reach it in time, headquarters warned. Matt unstrapped his EOD kit from his backpack. "Then I'm going alone," he replied, knowing the next steps could cost his life, or save one of Earth's rarest creatures. The Russian Far East wilderness stretched endlessly before Matt, its beauty masking deadly Cold War legacies. As an international wildlife conservation advisor, he'd spent 3 years tracking the region's endangered Amur tigers, but never imagined he'd face this nightmare scenario. "That tiger triggered an old PMN-2 mine," Matt muttered, scanning the area through binoculars. The Soviet-era explosives had been abandoned decades ago, forgotten by everyone except military specialists like himself. 8 years with the Navy's Explosive Ordnance Disposal Unit had prepared him for many scenarios, but never rescuing a 500-pound apex predator from a minefield. The tiger's situation was dire. Male, approximately 7 years old. Prime breeding age for the critically endangered species. The animal had wandered into the unmarked minefield while tracking prey, triggering a mine that shredded its right front paw. Now it lay bleeding, surrounded by dozens more hidden explosives, each capable of taking a human leg or finishing what the first mine had started. "Matt, the Russian military says they can't get a team there for at least 48 hours, came the voice of Dr. Sonia Petrov, the conservation team's lead veterinarian. "The tiger won't survive that long without treatment. Blood loss and shock will kill it within hours." Local wildlife officials had already attempted rescue. A helicopter flyover confirmed the tiger's location, but revealed the minefield was too dense for safe landing. Tranquilizing from the air was deemed too risky. A sedated tiger falling onto another mine would mean certain death. "The regional director says to wait for the military," Sonia added hesitantly. "He says one tiger isn't worth risking human lives." Matt watched the wounded animal through his scope. Despite its injury, it maintained a regal presence, muscles rippling beneath its orange coat, black stripes like war paint. The tiger's amber eyes, though clouded with pain, remained alert, tracking Matt's movement from 200 yards away. "That tiger represents 5% of the remaining population in this region," Matt replied firmly. "And I didn't spend 8 years disarming IEDs in Afghanistan to let an animal die when I can help." He began unpacking his equipment with practiced precision. "I'm going in." Matt methodically laid out his equipment on a tarp. Mine probe, metal detector, blast shield, medical kit, and the tranquilizer gun Dr. Petrov had insisted he take. His mind shifted into a familiar analytical state that had kept him alive through 3 combat tours. Based on the era and location, we're likely dealing with PMN-2 and MON-50 mines, possibly some PFM-1 butterflies, he reported into his radio. Soviet doctrine called for mixed minefields, anti-personnel combined with anti-tank. Matt's fingers traced invisible patterns in the air as he reconstructed the probable minefield layout. His EOD training had drilled Soviet mining patterns into his memory. The standardized spacing, the overlapping kill zones, the deliberate randomization meant to confuse enemy sappers. "I'm identifying a potential safe approach from the northwest quadrant," he continued. "The tiger trigger mine here, which means there's at least one confirmed clear path to that point." As he spoke, memories flooded back. The sweltering heat of Afghanistan, the weight of the EOD suit, the team's mantra, "Slow is smooth, smooth is fast." His instructor's voice echoed in his mind. "You're not just disarming bombs. You're solving deadly puzzles where wrong answers aren't graded, they're fatal." "Matt, this is insane," Dr. Petrov's voice crackled through the radio. "You're talking about entering an unmapped minefield to rescue a wounded apex predator. Even if you reach it safely, how will you handle a 500-pound tiger that sees you as either threat or prey?" Matt checked the tranquilizer gun, confirming the dosage marked on each dart. "I'll cross that bridge when I get there. First priority is creating a safe path. He pulled out satellite imagery, marking the tiger's position and his planned approach. The animal had dragged itself approximately 20 meters after the explosion before collapsing, creating a partially cleared trail Matt to follow with extreme caution. I'm estimating 45 minutes to reach the tiger, 30 minutes for field treatment and stabilization, then at least an hour for extraction, he calculated. The biggest variable is how it reacts to my presence. Matt's mind ran through risk assessments, weighing survival probabilities against multiple scenarios. The military had taught him to quantify risk, to make decisions based on objective analysis rather than emotion. Yet he couldn't deny the emotional pull of the wounded tiger, a creature whose existence represented wilderness itself, now threatened by human-made weapons. I'm proceeding with the rescue, Matt decided, his voice calm but resolute. If I don't make radio contact every 15 minutes, send coordinates to the military team. He donned his protective gear, lighter than standard EOD equipment to allow greater mobility, and secured the medical supplies. One final equipment check. Then Matt took a deep breath and stepped toward the invisible line separating safety from the minefield. Beginning approach now, he reported, his focus narrowing to the few feet of earth directly before him. Proceeding at phase 1 speed. Radio silence unless emergency. With that, Matt entered the killing zone, moving with the methodical precision that had defined his military career. The first step into a minefield always felt the same, a moment when the world narrowed to inches and heartbeats. Matt advanced using the rolling step technique, placed his foot heel to toe with exquisite gentleness, distributing his weight gradually to avoid triggering pressure plates. His metal detector swept in tight arcs before each step, its soft electronic whine the only sound besides a controlled breathing. 20 meters in, Matt whispered into his radio, confirming Soviet PMN-2 deployment pattern. Proceeding. The minefield revealed itself through subtle signs only trained eyes could detect. Slight discolorations in soil, unnatural patterns in vegetation, the occasional exposed edge of a decades-old mine. Matt marked each discovered explosive with a small fluorescent flag, creating a visible safe path for his return journey. Found first mine, he reported, kneeling to examine but not touch the deadly device. PMN-2, pressure activated, approximately 5 kilograms explosive force. Manufacturing date appears to be 1987. He continued his painstaking advance, moving roughly 1 meter every 2 minutes. The tiger watched his approach, ears flattened but too weak to flee. Matt estimated he'd covered about half the distance when the first complication arose. I've hit a section with PFM-1 butterfly mines, he reported tensely. These are scattered, not placed according to pattern, switching to visual identification. The butterfly mines, named for their distinctive shape, were particularly treacherous. Made of plastic with minimal metal components, they often evaded detection and required visual identification. Matt slowed his pace further, scanning every inch of ground. The second challenge came without warning. Dark clouds rolled in from the mountains, and snow began falling in thick, heavy flakes. Weather deteriorating, Matt reported, visibility dropping to approximately 50 meters and declining, continuing advance but marking path more prominently for return. The snowfall complicated everything, covering the ground and obscuring potential mine indicators. Matt was forced to rely more heavily on his metal detector, sweeping it in tighter patterns and moving with even greater caution. 40 minutes into the operation, Matt finally reached the wounded tiger. Up close, the animal's condition appeared worse than he'd feared. The blast had shredded its right paw, leaving bone exposed. Blood pooled beneath it, staining the snow crimson. The tiger's breathing had become shallow and rapid, signs of advancing shock. I've reached the target, Matt reported. Adult male, severe trauma to right forelimb, signs of hypovolemic shock. Beginning treatment protocol. The third and most dangerous challenge now confronted him, treating a wounded apex predator. Matt slowly removed the tranquilizer gun from his pack, keeping his movements smooth and non-threatening. Easy, big guy, he murmured, his voice deliberately calm. I'm not here to hurt you. The tiger's amber eyes tracked him, pupils dilated from pain and fear. A low growl rumbled from his chest, a warning despite its weakened state. Matt raised a tranquilizer gun with practiced precision, aiming for the thick muscle of the tiger's shoulder. The dart found its mark with a soft thud. The tiger flinched but made no move to attack, as if somehow understanding Matt's intent. Tranquilizer administered, Matt reported. Now we wait. 5 tense minutes passed before the tiger's eyelid began to droop, its massive head gradually lowering to rest on massive paws. Once confident the animal was fully sedated, Matt approached cautiously, still mindful of potential mines. Working quickly but methodically, Matt cleaned and bandaged a mangled paw, administered antibiotics and painkillers, and inserted in 4 lines to deliver fluids. The medical procedures were challenging in the field conditions, made worse by the continuing snowfall and dropping temperature. Patient stabilized, Matt reported after 30 minutes of intensive work, preparing for extraction. The most difficult part lay ahead, moving a 500-pound unconscious tiger through a minefield. Matt had prepared for this, unfolding a lightweight tactical stretcher from his pack. With careful maneuvering, he positioned the stretcher beside the sedated animal and, using all his strength, rolled the tiger onto it. Beginning extraction, Matt reported, his voice strained from exertion. Following marked safe path. ETA to extraction point approximately 75 minutes. The return journey proved even more grueling than the approach. Matt pulled the stretcher inch by inch, constantly checking his marked path, stopping frequently to verify he remained on safe ground. The snowfall had intensified, obscuring some of his markers and forcing him to proceed with extreme caution. Halfway to extraction point, Matt reported, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air. Tiger remained stable. Continuing extraction. 3 hours into the operation, Matt faced the most treacherous section of the minefield, a narrow corridor where his detectors had indicated high mine density. The snow now fell in blinding sheets, reducing visibility to mere feet. Fatigue gnawed at his concentration, his muscles burning from the strain of pulling the tiger's weight. Approaching high-density section, Matt reported, voice tight with tension, visibility near zero. Proceeding with extreme caution, he inched forward, sweeping his detector in meticulous patterns. The device suddenly emitted a sharp warning tone, a mine directly in his path, buried under fresh snow. Matt froze, carefully placing marker flags to identify the danger zone. Mine detected on primary path, he reported, attempting to establish alternate route. The tiger stirred on the stretcher, the tranquilizer beginning to wear off earlier than expected. Matt checked his watch. The cold was likely accelerating the animal's metabolism, burning through the sedative faster than calculated. Target showing signs of consciousness, Matt reported urgently. Need to accelerate extraction, if possible. He identified a narrow path between 2 detected mines, a risky route, but potentially the only option with the tiger beginning to wake. Matt made a split-second decision, one that drew on years of EOD experience and instinct. Proceeding through narrow corridor, he reported, approximately 3 feet wide. No room for error. Matt stepped carefully, pulling the stretcher inch by inch. Halfway through the corridor, disaster struck. The tiger regained partial consciousness, its massive body shifting on the stretcher. The sudden movement caused the stretcher to slide sideways, directly toward a marked mine. In that moment, Matt made a choice that defied all EOD protocols. He lunged forward, grabbing the stretcher's frame and yanking it back toward the safe path, knowing the movement placed his own body at extreme risk. Close call, he gasped into the radio. Target partially conscious, but situation contained. The tiger's eyes opened, amber irises focusing on Matt with startling clarity. Rather than aggression, the animal's gaze held something that seemed almost like recognition. It remained still, as if understanding the precariousness of their situation. Something unusual happening, Matt reported, his voice filled with wonder. The tiger is awake but calm, almost like it knows I'm helping. For several breathtaking seconds, man and tiger locked eyes, predator and rescuer connected by a moment of mutual understanding. Then the tiger's eyes drifted close again, the sedative reasserting its effect. With renewed determination, Matt continued the extraction. Each step represented another victory against the deadly field, another meter closer to safety. After what seemed like eternity, he spotted the edge of the minefield, marked by his entry flags. Visual on extraction point, Matt reported, emotion finally breaking through his professional tone. 20 meters to safe zone. Those final 20 meters required every ounce of remaining strength and focus. As Matt pulled the stretcher across the invisible boundary separating danger from safety, he allowed himself a moment of pure relief. Mission complete, he reported, voice cracking with exhaustion. We're out, both of us. The rescue team waited at the perimeter with a transport vehicle modified for wildlife evacuation. Dr. Petrov rushed forward, her face a mixture of disbelief and professional focus as she immediately began examining the sedated tiger. Incredible, she murmured, inspecting Matt's field treatment. You stabilize him perfectly. The paw is severely damaged, but with surgery, he might regain partial use. Matt collapsed onto a nearby crate, adrenaline fading as exhaustion took hold. Will he survive? He asked, watching as the team carefully transferred the tiger into a specialized transport cage. Thanks to you, yes, Dr. Petrov confirmed. This isn't just any tiger, Matt. Based on his markings, we believe this is Khazar, one of our most important breeding males. You may have saved more than one tiger today. News of the daring rescue spread quickly through the conservation community. The Russian Wildlife Authority, initially skeptical of Matt's reckless rescue attempt, publicly praised his courage and expertise. International media picked up the story. American veteran saves endangered Russian tiger, creating unexpected diplomatic warmth during otherwise tense relations. Matt visited the rehabilitation center daily as Khazar recovered from surgery. The tiger seemed to recognize him, watching intently whenever Matt entered the room, showing none of the aggression typically directed at humans. I'm naming him Sasha, Matt told Dr. Petrov one afternoon. It means defender in Russian. She smiled. Fitting, since you defended him. Matt shook his head, watching the tiger's steady gaze. Something tells me our roles might reverse someday. 6 months later, Matt tracked poachers through the same forest where he'd rescued Sasha. Released back into the wild weeks earlier, the tiger had adapted well despite his partially healed paw. Following fresh boot prints, Matt rounded a ridge and found himself facing 3 armed men, illegal tiger poachers with high-powered rifles. American, one snarled, raising his weapon. A thunderous roar shattered the standoff as Sasha charged the poachers, who fled in terror. The tiger stopped beside Matt, their eyes meeting in silent understanding. This extraordinary bond reminds us that courage creates connections that transcend species. What would you risk to save an endangered creature? Share your thoughts below. And if this story of sacrifice and loyalty moved you, please like and subscribe for more incredible rescue stories that showcase humanity's best moments.